Ms. Kimberlyn Foster, I'm going to grant you grace today, and I'm going to ask you and allow you to retract your video and your statements on Vice President Kamala Harris, because respectfully, you do not know what the hell you're talking about.
Problem with Kamala Harris is that she was trying to, in 2020, run so far away from being the top cop, being the prosecutor, that she was trying to fit herself into a mold that she just doesn't fit into. She's hardline, she's hardcore, she's tough on crime.
No disrespect, sis, but what the hell are you talking about? Kamala Harris was one of the most progressive prosecutors of her time. She created the first of the nation reentry program called Back on Track, which worked with low-level offenders to get them out of prison, give them an education, give them job wellness classes, credit building classes, gave them education rather than incarceration, and expunged their records after the fact so it wouldn't be a barrier for them to get a job. Like, this is the stuff that's confusing the hell out of me. And while everybody's sitting here talking about she was tough on crime, they said that she was soft on crime. She called it being smart on crime, because a lot of people were upset with the fact that she was building a reentry program to get offenders out of prison, calling her a social worker rather than a prosecutor. Here's the clip.
That as of January, we will have Back on Track in California's penal code as a model of what we should be doing to be smart on crime.
And yet you can't run away from the charges of those who do not agree with you. They call it soft on crime, that you can't be a social worker as a prosecutor.
And then you're going to say she was trying to shy away from her being a prosecutor. Have you never heard of justice on the ballot?
I believe that in 2020, justice is on the ballot. When in America, there is a father who is holding down 2 jobs and paying more taxes than the richest 400 families in America, economic justice is on the ballot. When in America, there is a mother who is in a parking lot of a hospital, afraid to walk through the sliding glass doors to get into the emergency room with her child, because she knows if she walks through those sliding glass doors, she'll be out of pocket a $4,000 deductible. Healthcare justice is on the ballot.
And since we're talking about justice on the ballot, a lot of these issues and initiatives have actually been addressed by the Biden-Harris administration. When it comes to economic justice, we got student loan debt forgiveness, we got the child tax credit. And then when we're talking about healthcare justice, let's not forget the fact that now, thanks to the Biden-Harris administration, they cannot report to the credit bureau your medical debt. Then you said that she was over here trying to appeal to the people during the George Floyd riots. However, she helped co-author and co-sponsor the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act in June, before she was even on the damn ticket with Joe. But I gotta add more to this, because there's more to Kamala Harris than just re-entry and low-level offenders. We have to talk about the fact that Kamala Harris tackled sex trafficking, particularly when it comes to young black women and young trans women. Y'all do not understand that Kamala Harris created one of the first in the nation child protective bureaus that focused on protecting the children and not charging them for child prostitution. When they were being sex trafficked, they were victims. She gave them access to safe houses. And if you don't believe me, ask black activist Latifah Simon, who was there.
Because really our call was to not decriminalize quote-unquote prostitution, but stop the district attorney's office for charging children who are being bought and sold on the streets for prostitution. They're children and they're being bought and sold. And when she told me that that was her goal too, I was like, oh, well, we can rock. And then I met her and I was like, okay, all right, sister. We come to this meeting, and this woman that I was working with, who had to be 15, 16 at the time, who had just literally days earlier been savagely raped, gang raped. And I needed her to be in this space, this first task force meeting. Kamala met us, and for somehow I guess because she had been working with young women who had been victims for so long, she, without knowing the sister's story, and the sister had deep chocolate brown skin, and she had cut off her hair after her rape, so she had this very short, beautiful afro. She looked at Helen, cupped her face, and said, "Baby, I'm glad that you're here." And something about that moment, I was like, oh, we gonna rock together. You know what? Because I ain't never seen nobody like you do this work here.
Sis, what are you talking about? Kamala Harris went from pillar to post as AG, standing up even against when people voted for Proposition 8. She stood up for marriage equality, even to where it equates to what she's doing right now with codifying marriage equality with the Respect for Marriage Act. And since we're on LGBT issues, did you know that Kamala Harris worked to end the gay and trans panic defense? And for those who don't know what the fuck that is, this was an excuse that was done by defense attorneys that basically said that it gave their client the right to harm somebody or take the life of somebody who was either gay or trans because they were in sticker shock that they found that this person was trans or this person was gay. That gave them the authority to take away somebody's life. Kamala ended that shit. And since we're at it, let's just go ahead and debunk all the shit. There was some lie that said Kamala Harris locked up 1,500 people, knowing damn well that most of marijuana charges are handled by lower level attorneys. But even with that being so, if you look at the data and the trajectory, marijuana emissions decreased under Kamala Harris's tenure. Then there was another damn lie that Kamala Harris kept over 20,000 prisoners in jail past their sentences for slave labor when that didn't damn happen. That notion was filed by Patrick McKinney, which was denied, meaning it didn't fucking happen. And Kamala Harris knew nothing about this because she had over 20,000 cases that she's working with. She's not intimately involved in every case that hits the damn desk. And this case didn't even require the authorization from Attorney General. You could have got that from a level 3 deputy attorney. Then there was another lie that Kamala Harris stole Nina Simone's estate when that it wasn't even the damn case. What had happened was Nina Simone's daughter stole and embezzled money that was supposed to be used for a music school to build her businesses. So Kamala Harris had to intervene to fulfill Nina's wishes that was in her will. Then there was another lie that Kamala Harris blocked evidence that would have exonerated a black man, when that is not so. The black man's name is Kevin Cooper. He was arrested and sentenced in 1985 when Kamala Harris was still in college, you guys. And what happened was he was given several DNA tests that never exonerated him. It went all the way up to the courts of appeals and was struck down. Meaning he was all out of appeals, meaning he needed clemency for the governor, which was Arnold Schwarzenegger at the time, which was denied. Now, they went to the Attorney General asking for another one, but she had no authority to do that. So, thank God, because y'all don't do follow-ups. Gavin Newsom gave Kevin Cooper another DNA test, and it turns out it still didn't exonerate him. His ass is motherfucking guilty. Y'all need to do follow-ups and stop running your fucking mouth without knowing what you're talking about. And let me just say this in closing, sis. Everything that you said in your video was drenched in internalized misogyny. I don't know what childhood trauma you got, but don't project that shit on Kamala. And it could be easy for me to beat you down, but instead I'm going to lift you up and tell you that you're enough. You're not going to sit here and talk about Kamala Harris as an airhead or she's coming off of inauthentic. This is something that black women have to hear on a daily, and I'm sure you've heard it yourself. But you have to stop projecting all your no's and every person who stood in the way or questioned your ability to lead, your ability to do the job, question your credentials. You need to stop doing that shit to Kamala because it's all internalized anti-blackness and misogyny. Sis, look within. You're enough. You're enough. And nobody told you today. I'm going to tell you, you're enough. But don't project that shit on Kamala. You have a nice day, ma'am.